Good day and welcome to Australia. Bathurst Mount Panorama, Season 3, Race 1. Welcome everybody, this is Sean Stam, Stam Studio Network, bringing you IRPAS today. Dan Fendick's own. It looks like these drivers are already gridded up, ready to take on the twisty, turny, elevation changey mountain. Looks like Lucas Haller slapped it on our pole. That, not seeing what time, but Jeremy Littleton right there, P2. Both of these drivers, lots of pace in our last season of IRPAS. Glad you can all join us for this race 1 of our new season 3. Got James Francone starting P3, John Jennings P4. These drivers right here are gonna be one to watch today because I'd imagine racing in Bathurst, you have to be racing it maybe just a little bit differently. Maybe it's a home field race for somebody like James or John as they are out of Australia. Morning time for them as it is in the sim. Sun continuing to rise. Temperatures continuing to rise. Alexander gonna start P5. Kevin Schmidtke P6. See ProAM today, 2 separate series on track at the same time, going to be battling for overall spot as well as that class position, but Lucas gonna take him to the green flag, orange zone in turns 1 and 2. No aggressive racing. Doesn't have to be single file, but just has to be toned down just a little bit. Gonna make it all clean through turns 1. Looks like John Jennings trying to hold off Alexander as now he's trying to warm up his Pirellis in the GT3 class. Don't blame him, as this is going to be maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 3 laps for these tires to come up to track temp and pressure. Lucas leading them up the hill for the very first time. Riding on board with Lucas, looking back at Jeremy Littleton, got James Francone still sitting P3. No changes up front early on. Now these drivers going to head down the mountain. At this point, you're just holding on for dear life. Please stick, please stick. You keep telling yourself as these Ferraris look like they do have a bit of grip down the mountain, Mount Panorama. Alex making a little bit of contact with that barrier leading to the long straightaway here in Bathurst. Matthew Sherwood, bit of an incident. Let's take a look, see what happens. See a replay brought to you by Stam Studio Network. This is going to be down the mountain. See Matthew out of Florida. Tries to set up the BMW, and that is exactly where I have been it in an endurance race. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is, of course, the Bathurst. Oh, Alexander, a little bit of contact with, is that John Jennings? Mentioned him earlier on in the race, as he would quite possibly could have been one of our drivers to watch as he is out of Australia. Let's see what happens. Sure enough, this is coming on to turn 23, the last turn of the track. Contact with the 2 Fendi Ferraris. Excuse me, not Ferraris. They look enough like it, but now the McLarens actually have been released now in iRacing. Say Ferrari, just the paint scheme looks so much like the one that we see on our Ferrari. Appreciate Edward Vecino for being our paint designer here at Fendi Racing. However, we have John Jennings still trying to hold off David. John, a separate incident. We're going to take a look, see what happens with him. Oh, this is the same one here. And this is, we're just going to take another look. Turn 23, John gets tagged. Not his fault at all. Goes around, and that could very well be a teammate running car that he just got tagged by. Closest battle on track between Lucas and Jeremy Littleton. Mentioned it earlier. These drivers both with tremendous pace back in our last series of IRPAS. And then now we are looking at season 3. Both these drivers still with lots and lots of pace. Jeremy Littleton closed the gap on the straights with that slipstream. Something that you're going to have to be a little bit wary of is the fuel consumption of these cars. Only 65% fuel capacity, which means, do you try and gamble it a little bit, maybe stretch that fuel strategy, possibly not even take a stop? Or do you just go balls to the wall and try and just get as much gap as you can with the fuel available, and then take that quick splash and dash at some point in this 45-minute long race? Already 5 minutes down though, 40 minutes to go. John Hicks, bit of a kerfuffle. Again down the mountain, one of the most treacherous parts of the track. You got gravity working with you as well, and then, oh, just gets into the Falcon tire barrier. Very, very nice of him to hold the brakes there. You see, out of Operation Motorsport, appreciate you coming out racing with us here in IRPAS out of Fendi Racing. Alexander and Kevin still running P4 and 5, gained a spot off of that initial start. Unfortunately, that was from John Jennings falling out. But now we see Kevin Schmidtke holding off a new name, Kylan Bruce, both in this AM Series class. Right on board with Kylan here down the mountain. I actually talked with Kevin Schmidtke before the race about this paint job that he runs. Very bright SVT. I asked him, what is SVT? And which he told me, and which I should have known, quite frankly, to be honest. Ford Special Vehicles Team. They were founded back in 1991. First vehicles were on sale 1993. They took their Ford cars and made them what they were, including some Coyote Mustangs, some Ford Focuses. It's very cool to see him run this very, very vibrant, bright orange SVT running paint scheme. Almost a burnt orange. If you get my reference there, unfortunately the Longhorns no longer in the college football playoff. Eliminated late last night to Ohio State. Dan Fendi holding off Samuel Cruz, another new name in our AM class. See him running a BMW, trying to make that outside line work, going to get a bit better exit than Dan though, is coming down the start-finish straight. And then towards the longer straightaway, going to head up to the mountain now. The 13 going to look towards the left side, going to be side by side down this bit of a stretch before we take a 90-degree right heading up the mountain. Very, very nice elevation change here. But in Bathurst, BMW going to make a little bit of a lunge, possibly just a bit of a defensive move there from Samuel. And his BMW M3 going to retain the spot, is now heading back up the hill. Call it a hill, it's really a mountain. Call it Mount Panorama for a reason. If you're just now joining us, take a look at again where we are. You can see the elevation change brought to you by Google Earth. This is looking at the top of the mountain here, where it says Mount Panorama. That's where it starts to go back down. Super, super cool track setting for our drivers today. 3.2 miles, which is 6.4 kilometer track. Lucas Holler continuing to lead in his BMW. It's interesting, we saw him run that BMW at Le Mans at our championship race for season 2. Really, really understeery through the corners, We'll ride on board with him up through the mountain next time by, see how much more connected this car is with this track, as the two track types very, very different from one another. Huge slide from Alexander, as you saw on the right side of your screen, and then Kylan going at it. Said we're going to do it. Let's see how well Lucas's BMW is able to grip into the track going up and down the mountain here in Australia. So that was on board with him now. If we hop on board with Kylan, take a look at the difference. And this could just be car. This could also be the difference between Pro and Am. A little bit more steering input for this Ford Mustang. Is this thing is a, what did Kevin say in practice? A wheelbarrow down the mountain? As it really looks like it, banging fenders left and right. Looking back at Kylan Bruce now, still in that AM class. Very, very important corner as they come out of there now, heading down the longest straight here on the track. Important to get a very, very nice exit out of there. That's going to carry your speed and momentum down the track, but Kylan getting a very nice run out of the back of that Mustang. Wonder if he's going to be there possibly this next lap. Giving him the flashers, gonna have Kevin looking in his mirrors, coming to turn 23 now, heading back into turn 1. Gonna be a 90-degree left right here. Gonna fake him out. Have Kevin run a little bit slow on the apex. Watch for Kylan here to make a move coming up the mountain. Got John Jennings. He's watching these drivers go side by side. There could be trouble here. Riding on board with John Jennings. If anything were to happen between the two drivers, not a lot of room to slow down as the drivers are hauling ass here at Mount Bathurst in these GT3 cars. You may have well pace, but something you're going to have to manage. I mentioned it earlier, the fuel. Are some of these drivers possibly conserving just a little bit more? I know Dan was able to make the stretch work, the gamble work in practice fuel-wise, but I mean tire consumption-wise too. It's only morning, track temperature still fairly low. However, you start pushing it a little too hard, just like Kylan here. We've seen him into the wall once, maybe twice, but wow, no scrape even to the right side of his McLaren. You guys watching at home, I really appreciate you joining into the stream. I'd like to ask you guys, maybe who's your pick to win the race? Is Lucas burning too much fuel to where he's going to have to make a fuel stop? Jeremy Littleton right there behind him, been within a second and a half. Drop it in the YouTube chat. If you're right, man, I'll shout you out at the end of the race for sure. Alexander running a bit more conservative down the exit of T23. This time is now Kevin presenting a little bit more of a gap on Kylan, and John Jennings now on Kylan's back bumper. See David Halsheimer. His Corvette. First time I've seen a Corvette running here in IRPAS. Love to treat the NASCAR guys to a crank it up. I think I'll treat IRPAS fans to a crank it up. Here are these magnificent sounds of these GT3 cars racing up and down Mount Bathurst. Guys into that as now we have Kevin Schmidtke making that Mustang even wider than it already is on Kylan and John Jennings. Battle for AM heating up. 15 minutes down, 30 minutes to go. Bathurst. Kylan's got the pace, but John Jennings able to keep pulling him off. You see these LED quarter panels on the sides of these cars, able to treat you fans and cardboard cutouts here in the stands. I hope you see kind of easier what position your favorite driver is running as you see that 6 on the side of Kylan Bruce. Although running P2 in AM class does not display that, might add. So we take a look at the lap times between Lucas, our leader, and then Jeremy Littleton. Lucas showing 2:03, 2:03 and a half, 2:03 and a half, and then 2:03.7s. Jeremy Littleton only faster so far on lap 7, and shit, that's only by 2.5 seconds. Take a look at the sectors this time by. Still slower sector 1 for Jeremy. Jeremy comparing to James Francone behind. We'll hang on board here. Still a second back. Or, excuse me, 1/10 of a second back. This has been our best battle all day. This is for the AM lead. Still, look at John Jennings back between these two. Kevin Schmidtke continuing to hold three drivers off at the moment. Hop on board with David as these drivers go back up the mountain. Track map pop up there. Our leaders already that long straightaway on the back side of the track. Kevin Schmidtke coming to the Falcon corners now. Actually, that's the chicane before it. Here we go, down into Falcon corner. where again, I have been it so many times before. This is so important to get an early entry here, wrap that left side. There's that drive off on exit. Gaps John Jennings. That time by. Nice work, Kevin. Don't think we've taken a look at this incident just yet. This was Matthew Sherwood earlier. Ooh, he might run wide. Get some. Ooh, the car just snapped him and noses into the wall. Toes instantly. Very nice work there, Matthew, with the toe, but unfortunate end to your day early. Looks like John Jennings, David Holzheimer here. This is quite shocking because I was maybe just a little bit of mind games going on before the race in the Discord chat, but I was told some of these drivers may be able to push it on the fuel. Quite possibly John Jennings. You saw a little bit of damage to the nose. Bill Harkins, we see you in the chat. Of course, man, I'm happy to be here. Bill, love to ask you, who do you have winning this race? I know we've had Lucas winning, out here up front, all racing his Red Bull BMW, but Jeremy Littleton running right there with him. Is he possibly conserving just a little bit of gas? And then James Francone, one of our Australian mates, running P3 at the moment out of Twitchy Foot Racing. See Fendi on his paint scheme as well. Really nice paint scheme. Wonder if that's going to be their 24-hour paint scheme. Said that one too many times. A sentence. So fuel stops. We're starting to hit the pit window. Things are about to start. Well, they are already getting interesting. Some drivers going to look to try and gain that advantage by possibly stretching the fuel run by just a lap or two. However, got to remember that pit entry and exit, as that is one of the most important parts of the pit stop. And then stopping on the sign, that harder than you'd think with these GT3 cars. I don't have a choice first time here, so don't really know the names, says Bill Harkins. Well, appreciate you joining us here at Stam Studio Network. I have something that may help you make a choice. Lucas sitting at 2,800 I rating. Jeremy Littleton 3,400. And then they are approaching lap traffic. Jeremy Littleton going to be right there on the back side of that lap traffic. Lucas already making it past. Here's Jeremy Littleton. Ooh, some contact between the Operation Motorsports. Is that John Hicks? It is. So Jeremy lost quite a bit of time, as we're going to take a look at the replay brought to you by Stam Studio Network. Ooh, that's a little late. Have to back it up just a few seconds. Hang with us here. Ooh, might have to take one more look to really make a determined call, but I understand Jeremy has places to be here. However, something we kind of strive for in IRPAS is clean racing. Have to slow it down here. Maybe just didn't expect John Hicks to run that line and just came across the nose into the Etihad. See the sign there. Unfortunate run for John Hicks as he gets passed by our leaders. Able to keep his car going though. So now Alex in and out of the pit lane. Our two leaders, Lucas now extended the gap by 3 seconds. I was mentioning it earlier. Jeremy Littleton, 3,500 I rating. James Francone, 1,800. And then Kevin Schmidtke leading our AM, running P4 overall, 1,300 I rating. Kevin Bruce, 1,200. If you're new with iRacing, that I rating split among different classes between road, oval, even open wheel road, as well as dirt oval. That's all split different classes. You got safety running with you as well what's called, mentioned it earlier, that I rating. It's kind of displays your skill level to you people, you race fans, excuse me, watching at home, as well as the people. That's what I meant to say, the people that they're racing against. As it is, some of these drivers will very proudly display their highly skilled IRs. Takes some time to get up to that 3,000, 4,000 range, and then it takes a huge gap to get to, you start looking 6,000, 7,000. Have some of those Twitch streamers up there in the 9,000, 10,000 range though, so the sky is the limit. Lucas Haller, that gap now back down to 2 seconds after extended with the lap traffic. John Hicks for Jeremy Littleton. Jeremy's gotta be heated in the cockpit of his 619. Is that the new, it is the Acura. Very quick pace. No, the BOP was just released for the Daytona 24-hour race. Still lots and lots of pace out of the 619. Twisted Racing. It's Jeremy Littleton. Still, I'm not making a stop. So you see, just 7th and 8th is when that pit cycle has started, and that's Samuel Cruz, John Jennings. Our last to pit still Alex. So, closest battle on track at the moment between Dan Fendick and Nicholas Meyer for AM. This is for 4th in class. Hop on board with Nicholas, see what he sees coming down the line. See how much gap he's able to close on Dan, but check out how important this next run is going to be into this long straightaway. Gonna have to hug this left side wall. Lots and lots of steering input. You see Dan get a way better run off than Nicholas was here. John Hicks running behind these two drivers for 12. Biggest mover of the race, a Polaroid Corvette. New GT3 car out of iRacing, David Holzheimer. Gained 4 spots since the start of the race. Really poor effort qualifying for David, as we know he has the pace. But involved in maybe a little bit of an incident earlier, only running P9 at the moment. So, for those of you unfamiliar, maybe with Mount Panorama, the circuit features some really iconic corners that I will get to in a second, as this is going to start the cycle. Which sim is more accurate track for Bathurst, ACC or iRacing? Ooh, that is a very tough question. iRacing does, matter of fact, have that laser scanned surface for every track that they have in the sim. That's coming down to the millimeter on these track surfaces. Tire compounds, track compounds as well. As you see the pit exit, even when this separates from this kind of concrete to asphalt, that every single thing is simulated within iRacing. Now, that's not to say the same about ACC though, that their graphics engine very strong. 2 very quick stops right here also, as now James Francone is going to take the lead, but he'll have to cycle out back around these 2 drivers. ACC, very nice sim as well. As so I've heard. I've turned some laps on a buddy sim there before, different track, but you know, something I've really noticed between the 2 is me and my friend do have the same wheelbase. Is ACC has a completely different kind of track feel to it within the feedback that you get from the wheelbase. That's all in the modeling. I've found Also, way cleaner racing between this kind of iRacing community that you'd call it compared to ACC. But I totally get it budget-wise too. ACC way more friendlier than iRacing. iRacing, ooh, Lucas scraping the wall there. These tires come back up to temperature coming out of the pit lane. Yeah, the racecraft I've found from iRacing drivers way cleaner, way more respect, and then I mentioned it earlier, that I rating. The higher I rating that you are able to achieve, the way more cleaner racing that you're going to get and find yourself into for those official series races. This is only a league race. I ratings all over the place, and I mentioned it, respect. This is it? Yeah, Dan, Samuel, and Nicholas, all within just a half second of each other. That Bathurst, that's pretty impressive, especially for an AM series class. Samuel able to come to hold off Nicholas, and Dan, very nice run, running P9 at the moment. The sun continues to rise here in Mount Bathurst. That also means track temperature will continue to rise. These tires hopefully already up to temperature for these drivers that have pitted, but for these drivers that have not, say for Kylan, Dan, Samuel, going to have to go through a whole nother pit cycle now with the track. See if we can get a track temp for you at the moment. 65 degrees Fahrenheit, extremely cold temperatures for what these drivers are really used to running here at Bathurst, except for that 12-hour. Samuel Cruz, I wonder if he's going to maybe cross over Dan within this next. Okay, here's the first 90-degree left. Going to have one more before they come to that long, well, second to longest finish, but already going to get side by side. Matter of fact, past Dan. Coming to turn one, no, going to give the spot back to him. Very nice, respectable racing. Is now look at Nicholas. Makes the move on Samuel as he kind of left room for Dan. Hop on board with Dan Fendi here as they head back up the mountain, going to hop back. We'll hop on board with them for the whole rest of this lap, but before we do that, we have John Hicks going around. Maybe some damage from that incident earlier. Ooh, heavy hit for his Lamborghini is going to go sideways. Ooh! Very nice move towing. That happened right in front of our leader Lucas. That could have been way worse. Good move, John, taking that tow. I know it sucks. Gonna have to take that minute and a half. If you do have an iRacing membership, join us right after this race. Porsche Cup versus that Gen 7 NAS Cup. We are at Watkins Glen Cup layout. Have to put our driving talents on display. Shoot, I'll even be in that race. Come say hey. We broadcast it as well on Stam Studio Network. If you are interested, drop it. YouTube chat, I'll get you that league ID. Neither car having ABS or TC. Going to be very good battling. Had a really good race last week at Le Mans. Go ahead and check that out. That's also on Stam Studio Network. Here comes Dan Fendi here into the pits. Very slow, but yeah, there is that first chicane. Doesn't need a time penalty here, but man, you can push it. The speed exit or the speed line's not till right here. There. Now your pit entry line should, or your pit button should be pressed. That's what I mentioned earlier. So much is gained and lost within the pit entry, and I know maybe just having a little bit more of a conservative look there into the entry, but he could have gone, ooh, and gonna take tires too. This is gonna be a long stop for Dan. Oh, no? I thought when the car gets jacked up like that, that means tires are being taken, but I guess that's just the hydraulic jack system going to work, as Dan's only going to take fuel. As now here comes Lucas, going to put Dan a lap down under strategy. What pace for Lucas here, Mount Bathurst. 33 minutes down out of this 45, only 11 to go. Jeremy Littleton gained pace on that fuel stop, but now lost it back. Things continuing to get up to pressure and temperature. Mentioned it earlier. Also the brakes. Wonder if we're going to start to see any brake glow, or the sun. The sun's continuing to rise, so I don't think we'll see any brake glow. But yeah, Bill, appreciate your questions. Happy to provide that kind of insight between ACC and iRacing. It was kind of fun to dive into there. Uphill and back down for Jeremy. P2 overall and P class at the moment. See David running P6, that is also a pro. So our highest running AM, Kevin Schmidtke, in his orange SVT Mustang. Kevin took the AM Series champ last season in IRPAS. That was just a few weeks ago, but technically, yay, you know, technically speaking, it was last year. So, anyways, Nicholas Meyer having a very good run for him, running P4 at the moment in class, and then Dan Fendick running P5 at AM class. Matthew Sherwood, another new driver, got a little bit of damage earlier, but out of Florida, running P12 at the moment. John Hicks, unfortunately, taking his car back down pit lane. Hopefully just a quick stop. I know these drivers have one fast repair available. See, Dan's car went up on the air jacks. John Hicks, no air jacks for him. So that's why I thought Dan was possibly taking some tires. So jump back out to our leader. See Jeremy Littleton running backside. Lucas just 2 seconds back, unable to really get closer than that now. And then you see the track map pops back up on your screen. James Francone just now coming to turns 2 and then turns 3. A little bit of gappage. These drivers got Samuel Cruz going off track. This is already slowed down. Runs wide. That diffuser makes contact with the rumble strip, able to keep it outside of the left side wall. That may not look like much outside the car, but if we take another look inside the car, this is so much of a bigger moment than what you see here. This is the entry. That car so easily can just come around and loop it into the left or right side barrier. Seen it happen one too many times in the Bathurst iRacing 12-hour, but man, this is Daytona 24-hour time. Any of you that are running in the iRacing Roar this weekend, or even the 24-hour next weekend, best of luck. Personally speaking, ACC is more technical to drive. However, iRacing is still the better opinion for live racing with other drivers. Very well said, Bill. If you're looking for that intense, clean racing competition, definitely iRacing the way to go. And IRPAS within iRacing, a lead that the one, the only Dan Fendick has started. We're on our season 3 now. Be sure to join in their racing league. As yes, you see 2 different series on track at the same time, Pro and Am. They're fighting for overall, but oh, John Hicks. No, not John Hicks. We saw White. Who was that went around? Alexander, there we go. So much of these paint schemes just alike to one another. Is appreciate Eduardo Vicino putting our Fendi Racing paint jobs together. However, maybe Alexander pushing it a bit too much there into turn 1, had the car loop around on him. Bill also saying, I agree, the different dynamic of steering. Moza feels much different from the response on AC than compared to iRacing. Bill, appreciate you in the YouTube chat making this double-sided. No other. I was gonna have Justin up in the booth with me today, but unfortunately had to go. A little bit of an emergency with the snowstorms that are plowing through North America at the moment. But Jeremy Littleton able to get the gap down to now 1.4 seconds. Should be coming to the white flag this time by. Depending on... No, excuse me. I thought that was 39 out of 40 minutes. My bad. This is still going to be about 3 or 4 laps to go. These drivers putting down 2-minute lap times. So they just got... we'll say 40 minutes now. So about... say 3 laps to go. Lap time history between the 2 drivers. Last time we looked, it was favoring Lucas by quite a bit, but now we have Jeremy Littleton. Half a second faster lap 18. Lap 19, 2.5 tenths faster. And James Francone running a bit slower than these 2 leaders at the moment. We're gonna have to stick on board with this battle as gap now to 1.1 seconds, continuing to shrink. Scrape the sponsor logo off the right fender for Jeremy Littleton's Acura, but no harm, no foul. Continuing to close the gap down the mountain. On board with Jeremy, and then we're going to look back at Jeremy now as we ride on board with Lucas. Not just enough slipstream for Jeremy yet. Yeah, see, Lucas got quite a bit of a better run. Enter turns 19, 20, 21 now. This is our closest battle on track. Battle for Am right now separated between 10 seconds between Kevin and Kylan. As I'm still wondering if Jeremy Littleton is just saving maybe a little bit of tire, but it's at this point that you have to go. 2 laps to go here at Mount Bathurst. Coming up on Nicholas Meyer. Or actually, that's actually Matthew Sherwood. There we go. This could quite possibly be Jeremy's last chance to increase that gap to our leader, Lucas. It's going to come down to the very last few turns. Be sure to stick with us. Hit that like button if you see what you see. If you'd really love to support me, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. It really shows me your support. Also would support James Francone, our highest running Aussie, followed by John Jennings at P5. Very, very nice run for the 2 Aussie mates. One of them in that Ferrari and then the other in the McLaren. Gap back now to 1.5 seconds as Lucas is going to have to check up big time. Gap only back down to 1 second now. Ooh, Lucas taking a bit of a wider apex coming out of the Falcon corner. Does he get the run off, though? He does. That's going to present Jeremy from staying out of the slipstream, as now we've seen Alexander with an incident. Just past the start-finish line, heading into the 90-degree left turn 1. Ooh, just goes a bit deep. An amazing save. Wow. See why he's labeled pro. Nice save. All right, we still have Lucas and Jeremy battling it out front. See, the white flag is officially out from Barney the Flag Man. James Francone, ooh, he's going to run off track now. Next gap behind him is only 13 seconds, though, so he should be good. As his tires do gain a little bit of gravel and grass running through. Lose some grip the next few turns. Alexander still running P4. John Jennings, very, very nice run, P5. David Holzheimer at the moment got back up to P6. Nice run out of the Polaroid Corvette GT3. Kevin Schmidtke, P7. Kylan Bruce, P8 so far. Samuel Cruz, P9. Nicholas Meyer, P10. Daniel Fendick, P11. Matthew Sherwood, P12. John Hicks, P13. It's these drivers now going to begin the treacherous run back down the hill. Does Lucas have what it takes to keep the gap at just over a second? Or does Jeremy have what it takes to push? Here, coming back down the hill for the last time, going to head to our longest straightaway. He could get within slipstream distance, possibly make one last move. From my experience, you need about 0.7 seconds. Not sure Jeremy's going to have that slipstream. Does not look like it. Is now Lucas continuing to gap Jeremy down the backstretch. Lucas, it's at this point. He's giving it his all. He's given his best. The white BMW M3 Red Bull coming to the last turn on the track to make this thing official. Lucas Haller, so much pace last season. Going to continue it. Congratulations, that's going to win Mount Panorama for you, my friend. Jeremy Littleton, stuck with him all day. Been there, right up with him on pace. Unfortunately, just not enough. Going to finish P2. James Francone, excellent run. However, going to finish 30 seconds back. Did Lucas and Jeremy make that fuel run work? As that's just about the gap. What would have it been is as if these drivers took that fuel stop. Stick with us here on Stam Studio Network. I will get you driver interviews. We'll be able to talk to the top 3 and figure this thing out. Alex flashing those lights coming across the line. Going to finish P4 out of Scandinavia. John Jennings, second highest running Aussie today. I'm in 5th place, the number 17 Fendi Racing. Now we have David Holzheimer. That Corvette ran way better than I thought it would here. Congratulations to your P6. No, it really wasn't where you wanted to run. Unfortunate qualifying run for you, but man, we're going to have to watch you the rest of the season. Underrated driver with David Holzheimer. Still flashing it as look at these drivers preparing to stop. I got to keep an eye on time here as we have, again, Porsche Cup versus NASCAR coming right after this. I will be driving. Broadcasting follows right afterwards. Let's go and get these drivers interviewed. Got Lucas Haller, our winner.
Cup to cup thing.
Hey, Lucas, you got a copy?
That was some fun. Good times.
Gracious.
Appreciate all you drivers coming out tonight. Jeremy Littleton, you in the booth with us?
I am.
Hey, congrats on the P2. Did you and
Thanks.
Lucas make that fuel run work? Noticed you were 30 seconds above the next running pro of James Francone.
No, I was just going like right out Like I had nothing left. Like that was full on gung ho. I had nothing for Lucas. That car was just too fast in the straights.
Man, fixed setup for you guys as well. How was it in the corners? You feel like you could kind of keep the pace, maybe gain back
Oh,
the pace that.
the car just felt awesome. I mean, for a fixed setup, like I could put the car wherever I wanted to. Yeah, it was just the straights. I was just down on power compared to the Beamer.
That was really fun watching this new Acura tackle the mountain here. Congrats on that P2.
Thanks.
James Francone, you got a coffee?
Hey, how are ya?
Man, good. How are you after finishing P3 at? I don't know if you call this a home track or not, but man, being
Well, it's
Australian,
back
that's
home
got
in
to feel
Australia.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's good to be back home.
I think
It's
it
funny.
feels.
I start the season off in P3, but as the season progresses, I follow slowly behind the grid. But I'm happy to be
Man, I think I've seen enough face out of you stick up with these pros as the season goes on. I think it's even more cool. You kind of mentioned it in practice. The timing in the sim is exactly as it is in your side of the world. So I don't know. To me, that's always pretty neat and makes a top three. I don't know, feel a bit more special.
here. It does. No, it's great. Really enjoyed it.
Well, congrats again on that P3. Lucas, do we have you up in the booth?
Yes.
Lucas, what pace out of the Beamer? You heard Jeremy, or if you didn't, he just, man, didn't have anything for you there in the straights. What was it like tackling Mount Panorama today and conquering the win for Season 3, Race 1?
Yeah, feels good. I mean, nice as always to drive this track. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I was kind of afraid of Jeremy on the top of the mountain because, you know, he has more downforce, obviously, than myself. So, yeah, it was really tight sometimes. I saw him with his lights flashing a couple of times. So, yeah, a little bit sweaty now. But, yeah, it was fun.
That was fun to watch. Congratulations to all of our drivers that competed today. This track is really it's a tough one to tame. Would mean a lot if I know you said you're sweating, but any of you that have another race in you, come join us for Cup versus Cup at Watkins Glen. Session goes live in 25 minutes. Sure to check the broadcast out on Stam Studio Network. Congratulations again, Lucas. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day or night.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, brother.
Good race, y'all.